Hello everyone, I'm Wendell Jones and welcome to this edition of our program, The Platform. On this program we examine national issues of the Bahamas, and sometimes we just talk about issues of interest for our residents here in the Bahamas. And today we are talking about herbal medicine in the region and the use of it. And there is a school in New Providence, Akhepran International School at Fox Hill, that is having a forum dealing with non-communicable diseases like diabetes and hypertension. And so today on our program, we are going to be speaking with one of the guest speakers who they have brought to the Bahamas for this particular event. And he is Priest Kailash K. Leonce, and he is from St. Kitts?
St. Lucia.
St. Lucia, I beg your pardon, St. Lucia. And it's a pleasure to have him on our program here. Priest Leonce, welcome to the program.
Give thanks, beloved.
Godfrenius is here today, and we brought him specifically because he's been dealing with certain allergies. And he is going to ask you a whole lot of questions today. And I see that you have produced a book, the Herbal Manual. How long has this been in production?
Well, this is basically, give thanks again for having us today.
Yes.
And our blessings and prosperity to the people of the Bahamas and the nation itself, in the soil and the plants that you have right here in the Bahamas, because the plants have their own soul too. They have their own existence.
The plants have their own soul?
Yes.
Okay.
They live, they're alive, right? This book has been in existence from last year. It is an updated edition of one of our manuscripts, because this is not our only book. We've written also a book called The Sugar Baby, Naturally Eradicating Diabetes. Also, we have a book called The Food of Seven, Vegan Cookbook. And this is basically the fourth edition of the Herbal Manual, the Metrics of Herbal Medicine.
Okay, and so your focus has really been to deal with what we could call these non-communicable diseases like diabetes and hypertension, and I guess various forms of cancer as well, eh?
Well, basically, having gone through, because I went to medical, I spent about 3 years in medical school in Cuba, after which I got a scholarship to the American University of Antigua College of Medicine. I graduated in 2005, completed my basic sciences, and I went into the establishment of my own enterprise called the Great Physician International. Why? Because having gone through the whole realms of the sciences and getting a thorough understanding of how the physical structure actually functions, I noticed that the majority of the conditions that one would actually come with, when you study for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years at medical school, and then the great majority of the knowledge that you learn when it comes to the actually disseminating that information or assisting people to eradicate diseases, you find that if someone came with hypertension, they would have to be on lisinopril or amlodipine for the rest of their life. Or if they have diabetes, they'll start on metformin, and then they'll go on insulin, and then they'll be on this for the rest of their life, and they'll still die of diabetes. So this actually caused me to question the whole efficacy of the established system of healthcare. So we went deeply into the studying of herbal medicine, which is something I grew up with. I grew up with my grandmother, who actually taught me the great majority of the herbs. And going to medical school, what it did for me basically was to actually provided what I would say substantial evidence that, look, what my grandmother have been doing over the years and what her great-grandmother actually taught her was very valid, and in the time that in our present stage of existence as a people, it is more needed more than ever.
And so you have been encouraging people wherever you go to use the herbal remedies, eh?
Yes, yeah, the herbal remedies and also the lifestyle, because when I was the attending physician for the Prime Minister of St. Lucia for over 5 years. That's the past Prime Minister, Honorable Stephenson King. Also the Minister of Health in Dominica assisted in certain aspects also. We began the whole wellness event thing in Antigua, with it was, I think it was Prime Minister Baldwin Spencer at that specific time. You know, we've been given a presidential invitation to Sierra Leone in Africa. You know, we've been to Ghana for 3 months, you know, working on the whole aspect of non-communicable chronic illnesses. Because even when you identify a disease like diabetes or hypertension, the first thing the doctor will tell you is it's a lifestyle disease. As you said, it's a lifestyle disease. So then if you are suffering from a condition that has been known as a lifestyle disease, then the first step into reversing or eradicating, you know, or healing that condition would be examining the lifestyle. Then what lifestyle would cause diabetes? So if it is that it's a lifestyle disease, then if it is that we examine that lifestyle and then we implement specific changes in the lifestyle, then more than likely, you know, you're going to get results. You're going to see differences in the blood sugar readings of these clients.
Godfrey?
Please, you mentioned herbal medicine. We in the Bahamas call it this bush medicine.
Yes.
I don't know if there.
Yes, we do in St. Lucia also.
Yeah. But the problem that is happening is that you talk about your grandmother. That knowledge is being lost. That indigenous knowledge is being lost. How do you preserve that?
Well, by first and foremost writing the book, okay? And then also, you see, the knowledge was not just lost, you know, it was deliberately shoved under the carpet someplace because people were embarrassed about using a bush tea, you know? So then if it is that you go to someone, you know, and you get a bush to drink something for a cough, or you have a cold, or you have a fever, or if it is it's a woman who stopped menstruating and she wants to begin menstruating again, whatever the condition that you might have, you know, our ancestors, they had a solution for it. But then when the man with the white coat came, which I went through the system, you know, then everything that your grandmother taught you became insignificant. So it was more prestigious then to go to the hospital. You know, if you pop a pill, you know, it's better than drinking a cup of herbal tea. If you cannot sleep, instead of drinking a little soursop leaf tea, you take a sleeping pill instead, right? Why? Because you think it's more prestigious.
Do you think we in the diaspora have been a victim of Western medicine?
Well, I mean, you see, having gone through the whole medical system and just being honest about it. You see, if you look at a drug that they prescribe for high blood pressure, like lisinopril, it works upon the kidneys. And then you know that people of African descent, you know, because they have less of a particular chemical called renin within their bloodstream, that drug is not effective for them. So when you go to medical school, they say, well, you have clinical trials on a drug, and then they divide it into your genealogical makeup. So if you're Caucasian, if you're Indian, if you're Chinese, or if you're Afro-Caribbean, right? So a drug would be based upon that. So we don't really have, as a people, we don't really have a particular study or intellects or academics who specifically work towards creating medication that works for us. So the majority of our people would be on medication. Maybe if you're hypertensive, you take a drug, and then next thing you know, you're impotent. You know, and you're diabetic, you take that pill every single day, yet still your blood sugar level 170. You know, and you still get the amputation, you still get diabetic retinopathy, you still get kidney failure, and you still have diabetes. Right? So then we ask ourselves the question, an honest question: how effective is the healthcare system that we are utilizing today? Are we seeing a decrease in diabetes, a decrease in prostate cancer, a decrease in breast cancer, or are we seeing an increase in everything? And if we are honest, then what we do then, we ask ourselves that honest question then. If whatever system that we've been implementing over the past 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 years, if it's not effective then, what system do we have available to us that we could integrate with our present system to make it more like a patient-friendly system? A system whereby you're not only doing something because somebody says it's right, but because you've seen benefits for your citizens.
You mentioned that you studied in Cuba.
Yes.
You also mentioned that you were paying a visit, or you paid a visit to Mona, Jamaica.
Yes.
The citadel of Caribbean medicine.
Yes.
Obviously, the Cuban approach to medicine, I presume you would find more compatible to us. Yet, the people in UWI does not accept Cuban training.
Well, they don't. But only just politics, and the educational universities is a profit-making institution, really, and it's a business. So you cannot blame someone for making a decision in business, in the economic sense, to benefit them.
No, but we're dealing with healthcare.
Well, for you, I mean, idealistically, you're dealing with healthcare.
Yes.
But I mean, realistically, you have, it's profit, because why would you then, if you have a vehicle and then that vehicle break down, you take it to a garage, the mechanic diagnose it, they say, well, brethren, you have an oil leak, right? But what you need to do, you need to put a liter of oil in your engine every single day for the rest of the life of your vehicle. Number one, that's going to cost you plenty money. Number two, eventually you're going to put too much pressure on the engine, your head gasket might be gone. So then you never accept that for your vehicle, but yet still you'll go to a hospital or a private doctor, and then they'll say, well, you have high blood pressure. You have to take that drug 3 times a day for the rest of your life. And then you'll still die from a stroke, or a heart attack. So there is no difference because we are not addressing the underlying problems.
Yeah, but it has been proven that Cuba has the best healthcare system in the region. All right? Bahamians go to Cuba to be trained, to learn the successes of Cuba, but they tell them they can't practice here.
Well, that's just politics. I mean,
let's go back to something you said about, Godfrey asked you about Western medicine. Are you suggesting that certain medications have been produced for people outside the region, the Caribbean, or for a particular race of people?
Right.
Yeah, but that's the reality. Yes.
And they are not necessarily effective
For us.
in this region.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, I mean, it's not something that I'm saying, I learned that at medical school.
You learned that at medical school?
I learned that, okay. You go to school and you learn that, let's just say, being conservative, let's just say 80% of all people of African descent are lactose intolerant. Okay? You taught that. That means that if you consume dairy products, any cow-derived product that contains lactose, the sugar in milk, then your system does not tolerate it. It actually aggravates your immune system. Yet still, you go and you learn that. You pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn that, man. And then you come back out of that system and you still give your children cow's milk to drink. You understand that? So then, where do we actually put the full stop and we stop and we say, well, let us question it intelligently and honestly and see whether or not that the medication that they are giving us as a people, whether it's good for us. In St. Lucia, we have 2 Nobel laureates. Japan just got one. And we have a population of less than 200,000 people. So why is it that we should undermine our own academic and intellectual capacity? So why can't we do effective research upon what our foreparents utilized? People come to me with blood sugar levels of 700 and something, right? And within 7 days, we bring it down to normal. You understand that? So then why is it then, why we have to look at that and say, but bush and this and that, and it's not your bush medicine, and you got derogatively, instead of analyzing it scientifically. So instead then of the majority of our import bill for health being of importing that drug, even if you don't pay full price for it as a citizen, but you end up paying for it with your taxes. Yeah. Right? So our healthcare cost is climbing up to the roof, instead of we saying, well, okay, well, look at Cerasee bush, or bay leaf, or cinnamon, or neem, or even a little sea moss or something that we could use, or even exercise to help to keep the blood sugar levels down. Right? Let us try to implement things where, number one, the things that we implement are things that we could produce right here in the Bahamas, or in Antigua, or in Jamaica, or in Trinidad. So then that means when we buy these commodities, we are actually buying it among ourselves.
But you have trained physicians who will tell you that, well, a lot of research and development went into these medicines that have been produced, these tablets that have been produced for hypertension or diabetes. And they're not sure that you ought to be taking these herbal remedies because they do not know what proportion
Yes.
is good for you. Perhaps you are over-medicating yourself, or you might be poisoning yourself with what Godfrey called bush medicine. But they say that in these labs in North America and Europe, a whole lot of money, millions and billions of dollars, have gone into research and development of these medications. How do you answer that?
Well, it was only in the early 1900s where chemistry actually took root, and then you really had the whole aspect of isolation of biochemicals in the production of pharmaceutical drugs. Then, let's say you have the black willow plant. The bark contains salicylic acid. It's an anti-inflammatory. It's a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory that they utilized, that they created a synthetic version in the form of aspirin, all right? So then, it will be virtually possible to overdose yourself on the black willow bark because the quantity that you'd have to consume, you'd have to drink buckets and buckets, boil the barks and drink buckets and buckets of this to get what you'd get in a handful of aspirin. All right? So then when you juxtapose, when you actually compare herbal medicine and allopathic medicine, that's an injustice. Because how many pawpaws can you eat to overdose on a pawpaw? Right? Because your food, herbal medicines deals with it as your food is your medicine. There are herbs that are toxic, like the castor bean seed, right? 5 of it can kill you, right? But at the same time, right, if you take a can full of aspirin and you throw it down your throat, that can kill you, or Tylenol, or any medication that you're taking. And you said research have gone into that. But for thousands of years, our ancestors utilized the herbs. So even when it comes to surgery, man, I mean, and common day medicine, this came from Kemet, Egypt, as they call it. So even the manual on surgery, that was something that was actually created by us as African people a long time ago. So even when you look at the papyrus, the papyrus of Ani and all these different medical documents that's right now in universities in Germany and all these different type of things, the same information is inside of it, right? For thousands of years that these researches have been done. So what makes a research by a scientific institution more valid than what you have physically witnessed over 200 years.
And you hold the view that the pharmaceutical companies outside this region have really been destroying a whole lot of people.
Well, it's not that I hold the view. Let's just be scientific and let's just use the information available to us. Look at any, and I'm not here putting down pharmaceutical medicines. You're asking a question, I'm answering it. Right. All right, now, let's look at a pharmaceutical ad. The ad might be 30 seconds long. 5 seconds of it might say, well, this drug is supposed to be good for this, and then the other 25 seconds will be informing you of all the side effects.
Yes.
Now the 5 seconds that it's telling you of what it could be good for, but yet still you could drink a drug that could make you want to jump off a roof because it gives you suicidal tendencies. A drug that you take in to prevent you from smoking cigarettes, or a drug that you take in because you have depression and the side effect of it is suicidal tendencies. So it's not what I am saying, it's just the reality, right? So if we honestly just examine it and see, well, is it working? So are the drugs you're taking for diabetes in Bahamas making your diabetic situation better? Are we getting less diabetics? Are we getting less people obese? Are we getting less hypertensive? Are less men being diagnosed with prostate cancer? Are more women being cured with breast cancer? Let's just ask ourselves these questions. And as intelligent people who love our citizens, then let us strategize. If it works, I'm for it. If it doesn't work, then let us see how we could create the system that actually works for our people.
Very good. Let's take a break here. Godfrey has some questions for you. We are speaking today with the Right Honorable Priest Kailash K. Leonce, and of course, we find his book fascinating. We take this break.